Hello everyone. Welcome back to our tech series. Today, we are diving into the General Data Protection Regulation, GDPR. The General Data Protection Regulation, GDPR, is legislation that updated and unified data privacy laws across the European Union, EU. GDPR was approved by the European Parliament on April 14, 2016, and went into effect on May 25, 2018. GDPR replaces the EU Data Protection Directive of 1995. The new directive focuses on keeping businesses more transparent and expanding the privacy rights of data subjects. The purpose of the GDPR is to protect individuals and the data that describes them, and to ensure the organizations that collect that data do so in a responsible manner. The GDPR also mandates that personal data is maintained safely. In part, the regulation says personal data must be protected against unauthorized or unlawful processing, and against accidental loss, destruction, or damage. Reasons for collecting personal data are also defined in the GDPR. The data that's collected must be for a specific and legitimate purpose, and shouldn't be used in any way beyond that intention. The regulation also suggests limits on how much data is collected, saying that data collection should be limited to what is necessary in relation to the purposes for which they are processed. The question comes into our mind: why does GDPR exist? It's here to safeguard individuals and their data. Think of it as your digital shield. GDPR wants organizations to handle your personal data responsibly, ensuring it's kept safe from any unauthorized or unlawful use. It also sets clear guidelines on why data can be collected, stating it should only be for specific, legit reasons. And hey, there are limits on how much they can collect too. It's all about being necessary and proportionate. Believe it or not, the seeds of GDPR were planted way back in 1950 with the EU Convention on Human Rights. This groundbreaking convention set the stage for fundamental human rights that all member states of the European Union had to uphold. As computers became more ubiquitous in the business and governmental spheres, additional regulations were put in place, such as the 1981 Data Protection Convention, which declared privacy was a legal right. 1995's European Data Protection Directive is the most closely related to the GDPR, and is seen as that regulation's forerunner. GDPR ensures that your personal information is handled with care. But what exactly does personal data mean under GDPR? Let's break it down. Personal data isn't just your basic info like name or ID number, it's a treasure trove of information. According to GDPR, it includes identifiers like your name or ID, but it goes much further. Think location data, details about your physical, mental, genetic, or economic identity. It even covers biometric data, those technical processes like facial images or fingerprints used for identification. Your health info, racial or ethnic background, political opinions, religious beliefs, and even union membership are all part of this protective umbrella. But why is this significant? Well, GDPR defines this array of information as personal and sensitive. It ensures that companies and organizations handling this data do so responsibly and with your consent. Now we have a bit of understanding of what is GDPR, so let's diving into the 7 fundamental principles of the General Data Protection Regulation, or GDPR. These principles are the bedrock of how personal data is managed and safeguarded. Let's explore. GDPR lays down 7 key principles, setting the stage for how organizations handle personal data. These principles are crucial in ensuring fairness, transparency, and security. They are as follows. 1. Lawfulness, fairness, and transparency. Individuals must be informed about how their data will be used. Transparency is key. 2. Purpose limitation. Data collection should have a specific, lawful purpose. No data hoarding allowed. 3. Data minimization. Collect only what's necessary for the intended processing. Less is more when it comes to personal data. 4. Accuracy and updates. Organizations must maintain accurate data and update it when needed. Your right to ensure your information is correct. 5. Storage limitation. Data shouldn't be held longer than required for its purpose. Say goodbye when it's served its time. 6. Integrity and confidentiality. Robust protection measures must be in place to keep your personal data secure and shielded from unauthorized access. 7. Responsibility and compliance. Those collecting data must ensure they comply with GDPR regulations. Responsibility is key in safeguarding your information. These principles grant individuals specific rights, which are as follows. 1. Right to be forgotten. You can request your data to be erased under certain conditions. 2. Right of access. You have the right to review the data companies have stored about you. 3. Right to object. You can refuse permission for your data to be processed. 4. Right to rectification. You can expect inaccurate personal information to be corrected. 5. Right of portability. You can access and transfer your personal data from one service to another. Who is subject to GDPR compliance? Today, we are unraveling who exactly needs to comply with the General Data Protection Regulation, or GDPR. It's crucial to know who falls under its umbrella. Let's dive in. Every organization that collects personal data from any EU citizen is bound to comply with GDPR. Yes, that includes entities outside the EU if they are handling an EU citizen's data. It's important to note that these regulations aren't limited to online methods like websites. Any method used to gather personal data falls under GDPR's oversight. GDPR establishes 3 key roles concerning personal data. 1. Data subject, that's you. As the owner of personal data, you have rights over how it's handled. 2. Data controller. This is the individual or organization determining what personal data is collected and how it's used. 3. Data processors. They are responsible for handling and processing personal data on behalf of the controller. Compliance with GDPR isn't an option if you're handling personal data of EU citizens. Understanding these roles and the regulations is crucial for responsible data management. Breach notifications. What happens when there's a security breach affecting stored personal data? In the unfortunate event of a data breach, the data controller has a responsibility. They must notify the supervisory authority within 72 hours. But what does this notification involve? Key notification requirements. 1. Timing matters. If the 72-hour timeframe isn't met, the data controller must explain the delay. 2. The notification must detail the nature of the breach, what happened, how, and what data was compromised. 3. It should also specify the number and types of personal data involved, helping assess the breach's impact. 4. Describing potential consequences is crucial. What could happen due to this breach? 5. Communication is direct. Notifications go directly to affected individuals, not as general announcements. 6. Documentation is key. The data controller must document the breach and outline the actions taken to resolve it. Why these requirements? These requirements serve multiple purposes. First and foremost, they ensure transparency and accountability. By promptly notifying the supervisory authority and affected individuals, it allows for swift actions to mitigate any potential harm caused by the breach. Furthermore, documenting the breach and remedies isn't just a formality. It's critical for compliance and verification purposes. The supervisory authority may review these documents to confirm proper measures were taken. Fines and penalties for non-compliance. Penalties for non-compliance or for data breaches can be severe. Several criteria are assessed to determine appropriate penalties, including the severity of the breach duration, the number of data subjects affected by the breach, and the degree of damage that the breach incurred. Other factors that might influence penalties include: 1. If a data was breach caused by negligence or intention. 2. Failure to keep adequate records of personal data collection and processing. Fines can be as much as €10 million or 2% of annual revenues. 3. Not complying with any orders handed down by supervisory authorities. These fines can be up to €20 million or up to 4% of the total revenues. 6 steps to ensure GDPR compliance. The GDPR outlines guidelines for responsible data management, emphasizing protecting personal data without specifying technical measures. Here are 6 best practices to achieve compliance. Step 1. Always ask. Seek consent before collecting personal data. It's crucial that data subjects willingly agree to share their information. Step 2. Collect only what's necessary. Gather only essential data. Remember, organizations are accountable for all data they collect, regardless of whether they use it. Step 3. Responsible data sharing. Do not share data with other entities unless users have expressly consented and supervisory authorities have sanctioned the transaction. Step 4. Data encryption. Encrypt personal data at all times, whether it's stored or in transit. This ensures added protection against unauthorized access. Step 5. Data backup. Maintain at least 2 up-to-date, secure backups of personal data at separate off-site locations, reducing the risk of data loss. Step 6. Data management tools. Utilize tools that facilitate easy editing or deletion of specific personal data. Keep records of these actions for verification and documentation purposes. Following these 6 steps aids in aligning with GDPR expectations for responsible data handling. They not only promote compliance, but also enhance data security and respect individuals' rights. Remember, GDPR compliance isn't just about ticking boxes, it's about respecting individuals' rights and securing their data. It's a continuous effort requiring dedication and ongoing vigilance. Thank you for joining today's discussion on GDPR compliance steps. If you found this helpful, please like, share, and subscribe for more insights on data protection and compliance. Until next time.